Now, I mentioned at the top of the show how disgraceful, deceptive and irresponsible the ABC has been over the whole George Pell affair for many years. Here's a taxpayer-funded broadcaster using your money to go on a witch hunt. We can only guess how much money it costs, and we've all seen the personal toll and how when it comes to the pursuit of justice, it ended in nothing but trauma. This comes after the ABC spent the summer using our bushfire tragedy to pursue their ideological obsession on climate change. And already we've shown how during the coronavirus epidemic, the public broadcaster has advocated alternative policies in conflict with the advice of government and health authorities, and it's promoted alarmist scenarios of death tolls and infection rates that are far removed from the reality that we've experienced in Australia. And they've done this urging even more severe shutdowns of the economy that would destroy other people's jobs and businesses. They've done this while their jobs are protected, government-funded jobs, complete with recent pay rises and with looming efficiencies at the ABC put on hold. It's easy for them, isn't it? They can misinform us on issues like Pell, climate change, the coronavirus, whatever. Not only do they still get paid, but the Labor leader gets up in Parliament today and puts in a bid on their behalf for more money.
Australians relied on the ABC to give them emergency updates during the bushfire crisis. Now Australians are relying upon the ABC to keep them informed, stay safe and to support the ongoing education of their children during this health crisis. Will the Prime Minister restore funding so the ABC can keep doing its job so effectively?
Anthony Albanese there in Parliament, he got short shrift, but I'm joined now by the Shadow Minister for Communications, Michelle Rowland, joins us via Skype. Thanks for joining us, Michelle. In these straitened times, surely it's a bit rich to be looking for more money for the ABC.
I think it's fair to say, Chris, that the ABC, and I don't think anyone in the Parliament would argue with the fact that they did perform an outstanding job as the emergency broadcaster during the bushfire crisis, as Anthony Albanese mentioned there. As did, I must say, the commercial sector, the community broadcasting sector as well.
Indeed, it is the media's job to share information. When there's an emergency, we at Sky and the ABC on the government payroll should be doing that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that something that's also been highlighted, sorry, I'm shifting away from topic here, but it is relevant to the point that you're making about the commercial broadcasters, is that the pandemic is going to have and is already having an enormous impact on just about every sector of the economy, and the media is no exception, particularly in regional areas.
Well, that's exactly my point, though, Michelle Rowland. You know, we're feeling it here. Across the media, people are losing their jobs, having their pay cut and the rest of it, just like just like the rest of the economy. Yet here's Anthony Albanese saying, give the ABC more money. I mean, what about the ABC taking a pay cut might be more to the point?
Well, it's no surprise to you, Chris. We've had this conversation, I believe, in a strong and properly funded independent broadcaster. But I also strongly support the Fourth Estate, and the Fourth Estate being properly recompensed for the intellectual rigour that goes into journalism. And that really is the crisis that we're facing at the moment.
Anyway, fair enough. I only raised that because Anthony Albanese asked that question in Parliament today. The real reason I wanted to talk to you was about this big issue for the media over the digital giants and getting some agreement in place where the Facebooks and Googles can actually share some of their ad revenue with the people who produce the content, the commercial media providers. We've got to the head of News Corp now, Michael Miller, saying, look, the negotiations are not going anywhere. The coronavirus has accelerated and exacerbated everything. The government ought to step in here and regulate, legislate as soon as possible. What do you think of that point of view? Should the government step in?
Well, Chris, this isn't an issue that arose overnight. The government announced this digital platforms inquiry in 2017. We're here in 2020. A code is supposed to be finalised by November this year. There is great fear that by November it could be the case that there really are some media deserts across regional areas. Regional broadcasters are suffering, including in print media, as you mentioned, some of those mastheads that have been around for decades have been suspended. And that is a terrible injustice, particularly to regional areas where there is this symbiotic relationship between communities and their media for survival. But not only the tone of Michael Miller, I think, is relevant, I think the tone of Rod Sims is also relevant too. There's supposed to be a progress report by May on this code that is supposed to address properly recompensing the power imbalance between the digital platforms and the media producers. I take from his tone, and this is my interpretation, but I'm not the only one, I take from his tone that he doesn't appear overly confident about there being sufficient progress in May. So really the question arises, well, what is going to be done? Even if the code is in place by November, that forms the basis of the negotiations. That doesn't guarantee that by November there will be money properly flowing in order to address that power imbalance. And that really is the main game here. And it is happening far too slowly.
This is crucial because, as you say, there are newspapers shutting down in regional areas. There are jobs being shed in cities as well. The media is contracting at an accelerated rate throughout this coronavirus crisis. It comes to this point, though, then, do you think that the government should step in? I heard Rod Sims, the ACCC chief, talk about the fact that he thinks there'll still be some sort of negotiation. What Michael Miller and others are saying is if you wait any longer, there's going to be a lot of companies who just won't survive this.
Well, his point is well made, and it is not uncommon in the telecommunications sector, for example, to have a negotiate-arbitrate model based on some standard form of agreement. But it does appear to me that that doesn't look like it's going to be forthcoming anytime in the near future, and the need is now. The need is now, and that's coming not just from me, it's not coming from Michael Miller, that is coming from the media producers themselves in these regional areas. And that's why I wrote to Michael McCormack when he announced his fund for regional and communities, saying you really need to address regional media because without a plan, without support, we could be left with these media deserts. There are some areas where there will be no local news gathering, and the prospect of having parts of Australia that have no local news and relying only on content delivered via the platforms is something that I don't think Australians would countenance.
Thanks for joining us, Michelle. Appreciate it.